time to knock down a shot to put the Thunder ahead by 3.
Oh, and Barrett wheeling around with a vicious flush.
It was a nail-biter with RJ Barrett back in the lineup. The Toronto Raptors were fully healthy once again for the first time in nearly a month as they took on one of the best teams in the Western Conference, the Oklahoma City Thunder. It took 2 overtimes and some awesome performances from the Thunder supporting cast for OKC to prevail and pull out a win against this feisty Toronto Raptors team.
I mean, obviously, OKC is a very good team. I think we played really well. Obviously, had an extremely good first half, and I think even the second half we played well for stretches. I mean, they were going to make a run, of course, and we battled back and we're up 2 with like 10 seconds left. So, it's a game we should win.
Raptors' game plan coming into this one was sound. They limited OKC to just 47 points in the first half, and the Thunder shot 28% from 3, as the Raptors loaded up on MVP candidate and fellow Canadian Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, putting the onus on the Thunder supporting cast to beat them in the first half. The Raptors led by as much as 23 points in this game, but as good teams tend to do, OKC answered back. The Thunder outscored the Raptors by 10 points in the third quarter. They had 5 players score 20-plus points: SGA, Chet Holmgren, Josh Giddey, Dort, and Aaron Wiggins off of the bench, and they clawed back, forcing overtime. The Raptors kept countering, however. RJ Barrett was stout in his return, pouring in 23 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists on 54% shooting. Jakob had a really efficient 19 points and 12 rebounds in his second game back from injury. And the man that propelled the Raptors in overtime was Immanuel Quickley, who finished with 17 points and 11 assists. Ultimately, the Raptors fell short in double overtime to a Thunder team that started to learn how to counter the Raptors' defensive game plan. And after scoring 17 points in 29 minutes through 3 quarters of this game, Scottie Barnes just attempted 3 shots in the fourth quarter and overtime, leading to some wondering why he was being so passive when he typically is aggressive in clutch scenarios.
Yeah, first of all, we were looking for less of the matchups there, trying to get against players who were in a foul situation. Also, when we went to him, he was trying to connect with teammates and find them for shots. And it's also for him to understand how he needs to affect the game in those moments. And sometimes that's like with all ball cut, or it's a good spacing, and sometimes with on the ball and then creating on the ball as well. So it was good game for us to learn how to handle those situations tonight.
Nonetheless, the Raptors fell short. It was a good game plan. They executed it well, but not for long enough to hold off a really, really good Thunder team. And now that the team is healthy, it's a good sign to see them at full strength make things interesting versus a championship contender. Now, for today's film room, I want to talk about Quickley and the clutch outpour he had both as a facilitator and as a shot creator. This was probably Immanuel Quickley's best downhill game, creating for others and using it to create his own shot as well, settling into nice mid-range jumpers to put pressure on the defense, but also using these Jakob screens to sort of create opportunities and advantages for his teammates. He actually did it a lot tonight, and the Jakob connection is one that continues to grow with Immanuel Quickley. So here it is. They essentially send two to the ball immediately on this pick and roll. IQ can't get the pass over top to Jakob, but he swings it to Dennis Schroeder. Here, Dennis could probably get this pass to Jakob, but he doesn't do it in time. Chet Holmgren recovers, and the advantage is nullified. But ultimately, the pressure that IQ puts as an offensive player in the pick and roll creates a lot of open opportunities for a guy like Jakob. This is that downhill game that I was mentioning. Just, nice breakdown dribble of Josh Giddey, gets all the way to the basket and finishes left high off the glass. That's really, really nice. Here he is using an advantage created to create for one of his teammates. So he pumps, drives, the defense tags, and it creates an opportunity for Dennis Schroeder, who nails the 3. This time he attacks going baseline, and the defense collapses once again and creates an open shot for RJ Barrett, who settles into a 3-point shot. He misses, But again, you like the fact that IQ is creating these shots for his teammates using his scoring gravity and his downhill gravity. And this is something that I think he generally needs to improve on, but we saw that more in this game. So here he is. He takes the pick and roll. It's a guard-to-guard pick and roll, something the Thunder love to do a lot as well. He takes this, and then look at him decelerate in the paint, slow down, and settle into this floater. This is something that is super important as he develops his downhill package. Yes, he's bursty, but can he slow down and try to get a good look over the top of the defense? He did that a few times in this game. Once again, another possession where he draws two and creates for Dennis Schroeder, but Schroeder misses this floater. And so all of this accumulates into the final possession of the fourth quarter, which is something that a lot of people seem to be talking about because of, Scottie Barnes passing up this look, or maybe the fact that Scottie Barnes was looked off in this scenario. But when you look at the previous 10 possessions in the fourth quarter, how much success IQ had when it came to dribble penetration and creating for his teammates, it makes sense that the Raptors went with this play. It's a keeper play for Scottie and IQ. So here he is, dribble handoff immediately, and IQ takes it, gets downhill, draws the help, although albeit I sort of wish IQ took this himself. He kicks it to RJ Barrett, and Barrett misses the three. There are numerous variations this could go to. It could be a dribble handoff, and it could be a fake dribble handoff, thinking that it would go to IQ, and then Scottie could take it all the way to the rim, but there wasn't really that advantage there. Instead, IQ took it, he drew, and tried to create the shot for RJ within a matter of 4 seconds. It's a tough look, but nonetheless, that's why they went to it, because IQ had found so much success in the fourth quarter getting downhill. Here he is, nice screen reject, gets on the inside and is able to use his pressure as a floater, using the pressure of the floater game that he has to make Chet Holmgren think twice. Nice dump off pass to Jakob, who catches Chet with his hands down and finishes with the floater. Another screen reject here, something that Immanuel Quickley has thrived at in New York as well. And a beautiful step back jumper in clutch to make the Raptors go up 2. I mean, honestly, this is big time star level stuff. And we saw him do it a couple of times here in this late game. So with that, there is some kind of whack shot selection. But when you're feeling it like he was in overtime, you sort of have to live with these shots. Here he is, off an inbound, sets the screen, and, settles into a jumper. Is that really the look you want to go for? Yeah, dying clock. This is something that I'm comfortable with, but I can understand some people saying it was maybe an ill-advised shot. This is more of that deceleration I was talking about. So he gets downhill, slows down, waits patiently, and a nice dump off pass to Jakob, who gets the floater going. Jakob's finishing was incredible in this one, and the connection between the two is going to become a pillar of the Raptors offense moving forward. But again, another ill-advised shot here. Again, dying clock, so you can't blame him too much, but I don't think getting the 3-point shot to go over Chet Holmgren should be what he tries to do here. Another guard-to-guard screening action here. This time IQ gets all the way downhill and misses the floater here, but the rebound is tipped. And I absolutely love the recognition from Scottie to see IQ relocating into space. It's a big moment in the game. The Raptors are down 4. They need something, and IQ settles into this one. It was a great decision by Scottie to pass it in that moment. I know people are talking about the passiveness, but that was one play where it was warranted. And in general, I thought IQ had a really, really great fourth quarter. And in general, he had a great game. I thought the connection between him and Jakob, the Raptors, I could have done it for the first quarter as well, but they just carved up OKC when it came to those pick and roll actions, IQ getting downhill. And it's so important, right? I mentioned the Ja Morant, Steven Adams comparison in the sense that Jakob sets these hard screens. It creates that extra pocket of space for IQ to make these decisions. It's going to make his playmaking blossom a little bit more. It's going to make his in-between shot making and creation blossom a little bit more. It's also going to help his downhill game to get that momentum bursting to the basket so he can finish over top or maybe decel and then wait for the defense to collapse in and then kick you out. Like, it creates so many options, this IQ yak connection. And I think we saw that in some of these clips, but also in some of those clips, you noticed that in isolation, he was kind of attacking. You know, he looked comfortable getting to his spots. And I think that's something that he will naturally evolve at as he becomes the point guard for this Toronto Raptors team. Look, folks, I know a lot of people are going to be talking about the Scottie Barnes element of this. Where was he in the fourth quarter and overtime? He only took 3 shots. He was passive, etc. There is so much evidence before this game of Scottie Barnes being one of the most prolific fourth quarter players in the league. The numbers are crazy. We talked about it on the live recap pod afterwards, but Scottie is near the top of the league in terms of points scored in the fourth quarter, plus minus in the fourth quarter, impact in the fourth quarter. All of that is there for Scottie. And it's not just this season. He's been doing it pretty much his entire career, the first 3 seasons of his career. To take all of that and throw it away because of one single game is absolutely ridiculous. And if there are people watching this video right now saying, dude, what are you talking about? He had a bad game. He was passive, etc., etc. I agree. He did. He was passive. He was not looking for a shot. He was being a little bit indecisive. He was making that pass. He was passing it off. I agree. But I don't think that is a whole referendum on what Scottie Barnes is as a player, who he can be as a player, because there is a massive amount of evidence that shows that this is probably more a blip on the radar than anything else. We don't know the exact reasons. Darko Rajakovic mentioned that it was sort of an idea that they had to attack some of the mismatches and advantages they had, and they did. IQ against Aaron Wiggins was one of those, and that's why, you know, IQ was so good in that fourth quarter and overtime. But I also think that, you know, when you have a guy like Scottie, he does need to kind of grab the ball and say, this is my team. I got to do what I got to do. And while it doesn't always work out that way, you do want him either being on the ball a lot and looking for his shot and looking for moments where he can thrive. But also, ladies and gentlemen, it's a work in progress. You got to realize that you're incorporating in RJ Barrett. You're incorporating in Immanuel Quickley. And not to mention, these guys haven't been healthy. So the expectations, the touches, everything has been all over the place in every game. One game RJ isn't playing. One game IQ isn't playing. One game all 3 of Jakob, RJ, and IQ aren't playing. So Scottie has had to go through multiple different things here in terms of what he expects on any given night from his teammates. And I do think that impacts the way you're trying to approach the game. And now when you consider being fully healthy, you know, they're all back, they're all ready to go. It's a different ball game. You have to figure out how you can be effective. And that's partially on Scottie to figure out where he can kind of pick and choose his spots and be that guy that people expect him to be. But it's also on the whole system in itself to kind of adjust and figuring out what, you got to wait to see what levels out, is essentially what I'm saying. And we don't know how this is all going to look in 20 games even, because again, the trade deadline is coming. There's going to be a new different iteration of this team. This whole season is about transition, and we won't have any sort of clarity. Scottie won't have any sort of clarity until this team is sort of to a point where, hey, this is the team for this season. Let's just ride with it and see what can happen. I know people are going to jump on Scottie for this game. I've already seen the discussions and stuff on timeline. I don't want this to be a referendum of what Scottie Barnes can be as a player, because that is absolutely ridiculous given the track record we've seen of what Scottie can do in the fourth quarter and what he has been able to do in the fourth quarter for a massive amount of games. So that's all I wanted to say on that front. Either way, this was a really good developmental game. There were moments where Grady Dick had a nice stretch of basketball, making the right decisions, coming off of staggered pin downs and, you know, pressuring the defense. I think one area of his game that is really popping off the chart so far is his playmaking and you know, secondary playmaking and decision making. That's really something that's awesome for me to see. And I expect him to see that even more as we see him in a more extended role moving forward this season. RJ Barrett seems to be a massive part of this team. I mean, he has just been sublime since he's been a Toronto Raptor, bulldozing his way into traffic, finishing through defenders, really using those screening angles to get into a pocket where he likes it, making plays for others, rebounding the ball. There were some moments where he, kind of mistimed things on the defensive end, but for the most part, he was solid tonight. In general, Jakob Poeltl really has excelled the development. He accentuates the strengths of a lot of these guys because he's such a good screen setter, because he's such a good finisher, because he's a good backline rim protector. So he just is the glue guy of that starting lineup and what works with this team. So developmentally, this was a huge win. The fact that they had a game plan going in and said, hey, we are going to load up on SGA. We are not going to let SGA beat us tonight. We are going to double team. We're going to trap him at pick and rolls. We're going to do all these type of things to get the ball out of SGA's hands. And for about 3 quarters, it worked, folks. It really did. They excelled. But the Thunder, as a good team, just countered. Chet started to hit shots. Josh Giddey started to hit shots. Dort started to attack the basket. Aaron Wiggins started to hit shots. And so the good team just did what a good team does and finished out the Raptors. The Raptors still have a lot of work to do. They're going to continue to do so. This is going to be a very busy week, not only for the Raptors, but for their front office. And I will see you guys for the back-to-back tomorrow night, Monday, against the Pelicans. We'll see how that game goes. Hopefully the Raptors come out with the same effort they had in OKC. And folks, if you haven't already, come and buy those tickets. Rivoli, Tuesday, live trade deadline show. It's me plus a bunch of other folks that I'm sure you've heard about already. Much more talented, much more cool than I am. Come and hang out with them. They are awesome people. They know a lot of stuff about basketball, and they want you to come and, hang out with them and talk Raps. So why not do that if you're in the area? If you're in town, come hang out. Thank you very much for tapping in. As always, subscribe to Raptors Republic, and thank you so much for listening to these recaps. We'll see you guys later. Take care.